Amazon just released their trailer for its latest action thriller, and it looks like it tries to mix Die Hard with Olympus Has Fallen and a little bit of... Oh no. The Girlboss trend in Hollywood was undeniably disastrous, and the properties and franchises now burning in its wake should serve as a how not to guide for production companies for decades to come. Amazon's upcoming G20 movie looks like it's a leftover from that era, and it's the final boss of Girlboss movies, with the protagonist being a female president, a mother, and old. Before I'm accused of it, no, I don't hate female-led action movies. Kill Bill is, in my opinion, one of the greatest action movies of all time, and Sarah Connor from Terminator 2 is a badass woman done right. You know, it's a real shame that they never really revisited that character again after that movie.
That future never happened, because I stopped it.
Modern cinema can rarely capture that Sarah Connor magic nowadays because it's so busy trying to force female empowerment down everyone's throats, and no one is swallowing it. Not even the females. There are many reasons for this. For one, the constant middle finger being given to men in order to make these women look more empowered is tough to sit through. But more than that, it's the abuse of our suspension of disbelief. Now you might say, Brandon, it's a movie. Pretty much all of them require some level of allowance for the unlikely, and that's true. But the Girlboss movies require so many unlikely things to happen and so many plot elements to just kind of fall into place that it becomes insulting to the audience in its intelligence. And while Hollywood isn't willing to give us that Sarah Connor magic anymore, what Amazon is willing to give us is that sweet, sweet black girl magic. G20 is one of those movies that should have come out a couple years ago, but it got delayed because of the SAG-AFTRA strikes. The script looks like it was written at some point in 2022, and judging by what the trailer shows, you could tell they thought things were going to go differently in 2024. But I'll get to that. This upcoming action thriller by Amazon centers around President Taylor Sutton, played by Viola Davis, a no-nonsense strong lady leader whose daughter keeps finding herself in scandals. In order to keep her kid out of trouble and teach her some respect, she decides to force the girl to go with her to the G20 summit. For those of you who have never heard of the G20 summit, it's actually a real thing. It's where the group of 20, could they try to sound more like a shadowy cabal of villains? Meet to discuss things like trade and climate policies. This group of 20 are the leaders of the most powerful countries in the world, such as the UK, Russia, Saudi Arabia, India, the EU, and of course, the USA. President Sutton flies down there to take part in this annual meeting, but what they didn't expect was white men. Terrorists take over the building and then force the leaders of the world to say words in order to create digital AI copies of themselves, or something. And it's up to President Sutton to John McClane her way out of this Mike Banning situation. The President of the United States and mother of two becomes a badass who can overpower men younger and stronger than she.
Oh, it's so dumb, it's brilliant.
No! It's just dumb!
At the beginning of the trailer, they try to make it seem like she has this capability because she was a soldier in Iraq, but even then, this still feels like it's on the wrong side of the believability spectrum. For one, she was said to be in Fallujah in 2004. The only issue here is that women didn't actually see frontline combat in 2004. That wouldn't happen until 2013. Not that women didn't see combat from time to time, but they were usually in medical or support roles. Still, no matter a Marine's MOS, they all go through a Marine Corps martial arts program, which means Sutton would have definitely learned how to handle herself in hand-to-hand combat. But CQB against 3 male opponents in a confined space like an elevator is really unlikely. Viola Davis is pushing 60 right now, so if her character is around the same age or maybe even a little younger, she's not going to be able to muster the same fierceness and ferocity she could 20 years ago, even if she did specialize in CQB. She's president now, so she's a little out of practice. She's had 2 kids. She's much older. She's not taking down 3 grown-ass men in their prime. But we're supposed to believe that she can, and that she's so badass that she can do this. Guns, 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 guns. In reality, it probably would have gone something more like... To be clear, I don't think Viola Davis is a bad actress. In fact, I think she has a very real talent for delivering lines with authority that have an undertone of threat. For instance, her McClane-style delivery of this line is, well...
President Danielle Sutton. You get around, don't you?
I'll get around to you too.
Chills. Literal chills.
And if she was in this role while someone more believable handled the fighting, I would be way more excited for this film. But we can't have nice things. We're still getting leftovers from a Girlboss era that should have died years ago. Where it should have met its end, I'm not exactly sure, probably before it even started, but it definitely met its shelf life in November of 2024, which I don't think that Hollywood saw coming. Around that time, there was speculation that Joe Biden would step down at any moment and Kamala Harris would take over. Despite the press's best efforts to make it seem otherwise, it was pretty clear that Joe Biden wasn't all there. Even if he did finish out his term, it was thought that Joe Biden would at that point in time step down and Kamala Harris would run instead. She was definitely supposed to win, but Orange Man smash. Just like you should be smashing the like and subscribe buttons. Hollywood tends to ride trends just like YouTubers do, and you can see that in many shows and movies, especially those that revolve around politics. In fact, there's some psychological manipulation going on, but I'm going to get to that. To give you an example of what I'm talking about, Madam Secretary with Tia Leone was a show that came out in 2014 about a strong, competent Secretary of State who went on to become president. Tia Leone's character was an idealized version of Hillary Clinton, who was being floated as the primary candidate Democrats wanted for 2016. Keep that in the back of your head. Given that G20 only started becoming a thing in 2022, it seems pretty clear that this movie was supposed to assist in Kamala Harris's rise to power, or at least a celebration of it after the fact. A black female president being a badass would have had comparisons made to Kamala Harris, even if Kamala Harris had never thrown a punch in her entire life. Now, this is something that Hollywood will typically do whenever they have a politician that they like or want to endorse, and it's a psychological manipulation tactic called aspirational projection. What they'll do is they'll create a character who is often a stand-in for a real-life politician, and then they'll make that character far more charming and competent and even heroic than the actual person is. And the stand-in creates a perception that the viewer takes with them, so that whenever they see the real-life person that the character is based on, there's an automatic association. So this idealized character starts to bleed into reality whenever you see this politician. The goal is to get you to see that politician as better than they actually are, and Hollywood's been doing this for years. So either G20 was supposed to actually boost Kamala Harris's popularity, or at the very least, it was supposed to ride the trend of a black woman being president. But bro, I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't think that a Kamala Harris victory would have saved this film either. Watching this trailer of this film is...
If you want to live, you'll follow my lead.
Now you're Captain America.
silly. It's the only word that I can think of to describe it. It's girl bossing taken to its extreme, because now we have grandma fighting MMA fighter looking terrorists. And I think it's a common sentiment too. I mean, just looking at the like to dislike ratio, people are over this girls rule, boys drool mentality. The comments on this are fantastic too. Now you're Captain America? No, I'm President America. Chills. 13 Oscar nominations coming to this film. You know what? I changed my mind. I can't wait for this film to come out. I'm looking forward to it. I'm calling it right now. Best comedy of 2025. I'm locking it in. Later.